Welcome to Retro Fanfic Retrospective, the podcast where we dredge up old fanfiction and expose it to the cold, harsh light of 2019. My name is Amato, and with me are...
Tori.
Tini. And Dom.
Is that Dom in Jawa?
Yeah, I thought it was obvious.
Yeah, I figured. That one time in high school I played a Jawa in Star Wars Die 20.
Man, we had some fun in that one, I think.
Star Wars D20. Oh my god.
I made a Jedi that used mainly the blaster.
I haven't played that since I was like 12. My character had like a sick undercut with like a rat tail because I looked just like the character in Treasure Planet. The movie I loved at the time. And their name was like Terra or something like Terr. Terran, like the word for Earthling, I don't even know.
But I made my Jedi that used the blaster, so I can get around certain specific wordings of the Jedi Code, which prohibited your weapon, which was the lightsaber, to be used for immoral or selfish purposes.
Oh, yeah.
So I could mug people with the blaster, just as long as I didn't use my lightsaber.
Yeah, my character
That's,
was
gray side there.
Was like cross-classed, like Jedi and Rogue or whatever the blaster carrying Han Solo characters were.
My Jawa was a droid hunter by trade, and I think I had like Scoundrel or Bounty Hunter or something as my base class. But later
Scoundrel, that was the class, yeah.
Later on, another character did teach me the Force, and I got Force Adept. Not actual Jedi, but Force Adept as a class. I have no idea why anyone was willing to teach me to use the Force. We must have been a real bunch of, I don't know.
Kind of loose to the rules, I think.
Yeah.
Was it you that made a droid that had a weapon compartment that you equipped
it's so good. Yeah, I used our winnings after an adventure to buy an R2 unit, because before then I had bought a few battle droids. And battle droids are awesome because they're dirt cheap. They're horrible. But then you can have some droids walking by you going like Roger Roger and shooting things with a blaster, and that's amazing, right? But I bought an R2 unit, which are pricey, but they're really good. And, they got a good positive attack bonus. And you can install a secret compartment in one. And the secret compartment can be big enough to hold a lightsaber. And I just figured I would acquire a lightsaber because we were fighting some evil, Sith and stuff.
There's
right?
lightsabers floating around.
We were mugging some lightsabers. And I figured that we would just keep it in the R2 unit's secret compartment. And it could extend on a little arm and go boom. I think I was actually foiled in doing that rules as written because it couldn't take the feat to get lightsaber proficiency.
Yeah.
Because it was a droid. But I just figured that could still come in handy, right? You need to cut out of something, you have a lightsaber in your R2 unit.
I mean, you could take a lightsaber. Theoretically, a droid could be a lightsaber proficient, right? I feel like they should be.
Anything to hold a lightsaber. A table doesn't have to be to use the Thor equivalent. It doesn't have to be worthy in order to have a lightsaber rest on it, right?
Yeah, there's a button. You press it.
Yeah. By the way, when I was staying at a hotel outside of Giverny on my France trip, it went to a couple places and they have a bunch of bookshelves. I always like to play what's the weirdest thing I could find on the bookshelf. On that particular shelf, there was a copy of the Star Wars RPG in French. And I think that's the gold medal winner of weirdest thing I found on a bookshelf.
Nice.
In Eddie Hotel there.
Was it the D20 one?
That was older.
Oh, yes.
The D6 space system. Who put that out?
So you bought that, I'm assuming.
Well, I could have stolen it, but I didn't want to.
You're not enough of a gentleman thief, Dom.
Apparently,
Wrong on both accounts, yeah.
I thought we were all gentlemen in the last podcast.
I said gentlemanly, I believe.
Oh, yes, correct.
Yes.
All right.
One does not have to be a gentleman, which is good.
Good.
Yes.
To behave.
I believe that anyone can be a gentleman regardless of gender, is what I'm trying to express. But I like gentlemanly.
Now, speaking of our own original Star Wars characters, our fanfic today is Rancor Delivery. It is by ZP Florian, which is a great pen name. I like the pen naminess of that.
Very good. Very Star Wars.
I mean, it could, right. Yeah, it is very Star Wars. Bordering on Futurama.
Yeah.
Zap. It's almost Zap Brannigan. ZP Florian.
Is it?
Isn't it?
I guess.
But I think good Star Wars and good Futurama, there might be some intersection in names there.
Maybe so.
Yes.
I mean, Zoidberg,
Now, Zoidberg. Zoidberg.
ZP Zoidberg, yeah.
Yeah, Zoid something. Now, this fanfic I chose it for one thing because it's short. Another thing, it's off of the Corellian Embassy, which is was this really great site that scanned or typed up old Star Wars stories that originally appeared in zines and archived them. And it's a really good resource. Now, the description for this one on the Corellian Embassy, and you can find a link there, by the way, at bit.ly/RFR Rancor to the page in question. The description was, Rancor, R-A-N, there. If you've ever wondered who delivered the Rancor of Jabba the Hutt to Tatooine, this is the story for you. Of course it was Han Solo, who else? First appeared in I Don't Care What You Smell #1 in 1995. Winner of the Star Award for Best Medium Story, 1996.
Medium length?
Medium length. Best medium story, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a few things about that description. For one thing, I Don't Care What You Smell is a great name for a zine.
Yeah.
Also, just a great statement in general, I think.
For another thing, Star Award is a great name for a Star Wars fanfic award.
Yeah.
Star Award.
Award. Capital W. And for the third thing, from that description, I wasn't expecting what the fanfic was. No. That was not what I expected.
The fanfic's pretty good.
The fanfic?
Yeah, like...
It won an award. That's why I
Yeah.
chose it. Because I had a
You mean
reason
an
to think it was good.
award.
It won an award.
So this is a story that with Han and an original character of theirs.
Yeah. But can I just... Oh, go on.
Well, and I just wanted to say, like, if you go to elusivelover.com/zpforian something, it has all their other stories with Han and this character, most of which are apparently slash fiction. And you also get greeted by this wonderful, wonderful picture of the original character.
That clearly appeared in some zine first.
Yeah.
It's a scan of a page from a zine with an illustration.
Of how do you describe it? Like an Akio-like pose?
It's an incredibly Akio-like pose from Utena. This is like Akio on a bed or a car. His shirt's open. This is the new character.
Yeah.
His head's back. His eyes are closed. And
It's apparently like a jumpsuit, I think, that's zipped down all the way.
he's reaching for his crotch. You can't see the contact because it's tasteful. And Han Solo's like leaning against the doorway, looking at his face,
just
looking
gazing.
concerned. I don't know, like
No, not
not that concerned. Like
Annoyed?
almost annoyed, but not even that annoyed. Just like, really?
No, he was just... So, like, I think you can get it from the context in this fic.
Yeah.
That he's just like, this guy is a little much for him, but he
Right.
loves him for that. I feel like that's the expression he has. He's like, really, dude? But also, like, I totally expected this.
And also, there's apparently a lot of more slash fiction with these characters and different stories.
Yeah. I knew none of that going in. I knew it was a Han Solo story from the description. I expected it to be Han and Chewie. Now, the one thing, at the very beginning of the story, Han and Chewie have a conversation. And
Yeah.
my mind was blown because it's just them talking in text.
Like, literally the thing I was about to say.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about this entire fan fiction, Chewie's dialogue is translated
Yeah.
into English.
I feel
Just
like-
every other Star Wars character.
Yeah, this and Knights of the Old Republic, only ones that have, like, conversations with Wookiees. Which is, like, why wouldn't you have that? Of course, it's, like, as a movie novelty thing, whatever, but, like, if you have an extended universe and you're talking to people, why would you remove a character?
Right. It's a fun gag in a movie medium, like, I guess, even though it does kind of remove him as a character to some extent.
Yeah.
It does.
But you're just supposed to be, like, a visual thing.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
I mean, the thing is that Chewie's played up as a gag. He's implied to be a real, feeling person given a whole culture and a whole background. But the fact that you can't understand what he's saying is continuously a gag.
It's a loss, I think.
He has a rich
Yes.
culture and relatives like Lumpy, and they celebrate Life Day.
No, we don't. No, fine.
Yeah, no thanks.
But yeah, they just have a conversation at the beginning, and I feel like I've read Star Wars novels, like, officially, where they avoided having Chewie just straight out, like, talk in
do.
translated words.
I feel like that's the flavor of the thing. It almost felt weird to hear it this way because I've read a lot of Star Wars novels and they almost never have Chewie really speak. You can understand what he's thinking and feeling a lot of the time, but actually speaking. And there are Wookiee characters in the Young Jedi books. There's one in particular who's friends with Jason and Jaina, who are the twins that Han and Leia have in the Young Star Wars books. But I don't remember if they translate her dialogue or not either. But she's like a really important character, the Wookiee character in that. So it felt really good to me to hear Chewie like actually his words in this.
Yeah.
Now, Chewie is taunting, making fun of Han, who's like waking up with a huge, what do you call it when you drink beer? And too much.
Hangover.
A hangover, yes, thank you.
You
Wow.
precious little baby.
I've never had one of them, so like it doesn't
you
stick in my
kidding
head.
me?
No, I'm not kidding.
How do you get to be 32 years old and never have a hangover?
Well, I'm
just
extremely
curious.
square.
Yeah, you're like a box sitting in front of my eyes.
Well, probably Chewie's with me because Chewie doesn't have a hangover.
No.
No.
Oh yeah, no, because Chewie's like
Chewie's a
really
responsible
responsible
adult.
and shit. Yeah,
Chewie was the designated driver.
yeah,
Yeah, Chewie stopped Han from drinking that thing that was probably poison at some point.
yeah.
But Han got totally wasted and was like hanging out with a bunch of other smugglers, like independent contractors,
Ne'er-do-wells.
ne'er-do-wells. And while extremely drunk, he agreed to deliver a Rancor to Jabba the Hutt from this planet Belia to Jabba the Huttville
Free of charge.
free of charge.
And
Just to prove, because no one wanted to do it, and he was like, it's no big deal for a Corellian like me.
By the way, this is like the first time I've heard Corellian, and I heard it so much in this fic. Every other paragraph has Corellian in there somewhere.
In the original trilogy, it's a familiar
referenced.
word for a Star Wars thing, but is that what Han is? Han is Corellian?
They're from that planet,
Yes.
Corellia.
Corellian.
Han is Corellian. It's not made a big deal of in the original films, but more so in the novels where they explore his background, kind of growing up on the streets. He's not thought well of because of his background, and I don't remember specifically if Corellian has something to do with that, but this fic kind of implies it does. Corellians are not thought well of, etc.
I had to look it up, and according to Wikipedia, like Corellians have a reputation of being like adventurers and pilots and spacefarers.
Oh, of course they do, because it's a Star Wars expanded universe, and if you have a single character in canon, the race, the default is that character.
Right, just like how all
Sure, yeah.
Mandalorians are like Boba Fett, they're proud warrior bounty hunters.
All Grievos are also
Yeah.
bounty hunters.
Exactly.
Right.
All elephant men play World Circle pianos.
If you're a Twi'lek, you're a performer, right?
You're a dancer.
Right.
a dancer,
God,
specifically God.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
The friggin' Star Wars expanded
Unless
universe.
you're a Jedi in the
Right.
like prequel movies or something,
Yes, Jedi can supersede your
Yeah.
race, I suppose.
I guess.
Anyway-
Otherwise, you're a stereotype.
Anyway, it's kind of dumb, but Chewie can afford to be smug about this because he's not going along on the job. He's going back to visit his family.
Yeah, the way it's presented is Han wakes up, he has no recollection of the previous night, and it's just Chewie telling him in completely translated dialogue that it's like, hey, you don't remember last night? Guess what's up? You're transporting a Rancor. Guess what's happening? I'm going home on vacation. All right, have fun with that.
Yeah, he's kind of rubbing it in.
Yeah.
Yes, he's rubbing it in quite a bit.
And so Han has to go find a co-pilot. He goes down to the cantina in Mos Eisley, of course, and he's like, I need a co-pilot for a short trip. And everyone's like, nope.
I'm allergic to Rancors. No.
I need to visit my sick uncle.
Like joke excuses. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And the only person who's like, I know all about Rancors, not a big deal, is Han's good friend, Herlivon Xalnodest.
Saul.
Xalnodest.
It's spelled ZAL, etc. And it's mentioned in the paragraph of a different fanfic that please pronounce Xal as Xal,
Saul.
written out as KSAL, not SHAL, not ZAL. He is fussy about that.
Xalnodest.
Right.
And
Yes.
Which means I'm pretty much guaranteed not to try to say the name for the rest of this episode.
he's Xal. He's normally called Xal as a short in the same shortened version, in the same way that it's usually Han, right?
Right.
Xal. So, Xal's this guy who's buds with Han, but apparently not such buds that they are partners all the time.
And he's also from Corellia.
Yeah. What's his physical description here? He's just out of jail, apparently.
Yeah.
He's
That's not a lot of people in that circle.
as always, a bit less than clean and a lot less than respectable looking in his screaming red glitter silk flight suit.
Fabulous.
Beautiful.
I think it's screaming red. It's not just very red, hot red.
I
it's
love this
screaming.
too because he also has red curly hair, like apparently like a thick mane of it. And it's like such an interesting thing where it's like people with red hair wearing red clothes. It's like screaming for attention, right? Like,
This character is definitely screaming for attention.
Yes.
He's got a loose gray long coat as well.
Which is apparently filled with an indeterminate amount of alcohol and booze.
And Saul's willing to go along with this just because he's one of those friends who's like down for whatever.
Right.
I guess.
It's Corellian pride, they called it. They said that they can't afford to see a Corellian that's afraid to take a job. So,
Yes. Well, all Corellians are smugglers and shippers.
like I said, I haven't heard. Well, there's a lot of shipping.
I mean, of
on
course
this.
there are. Well, there are Han Solo novels written a long time ago in the Star Wars canon that describe his youth and kind of where he got to be where he was.
You mean the Solo movie?
Oh yeah, there is a movie too. That actually felt pretty accurate to the books when I saw that movie. But yeah, like if you've seen that movie, if you read those books, like you kind of grew up like not knowing his parents, like running the streets, etc. And apparently that's kind of most Corellian kids, like kind of just grow up to be smugglers because they grew up on the streets. Like where are the parents? I don't know, but that's Corellia
also,
for you.
Corellia is like the galaxy's shipyard apparently too. Makes
Yeah,
lots of
yeah.
ships.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of get the idea, like, of Corellia that it's supposed to be, like, the lower class neighborhood of the galaxy or something,
Well,
you know?
it's like a seedy port town, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Seems accurate.
The movie doesn't do it like that, but
No.
the books kind of did.
Now, the dynamic between Han and Saul is basically that Han's the straight man and Saul's the, how do you describe him?
Drunken friend.
Drunken, quirky friend.
Enabler.
He's revelatory.
That's accurate. He's like, hey, I have these 3 types of brandy. What are we
the
drinking on the
party
way?
friend.
He's the party friend.
He's
Yeah.
the one where, like, if you really want to have a good time, you call him up and he takes you out and he, like, knows your boyfriend just dumped you, but he's, like, down to, like, cheer you up. But, like, if anything, like, real serious ever happens, he's kind of like, well, I'm kind of busy.
Casal comes on the Millennium Falcon with a actual duffel bag full of different types of liquor and booze and goo and what else?
Yes. The one that will be a Chekhov's gun is the Tuscan goo, which is some kind of incredibly deadly stuff, right?
It's the
Wait,
least
no,
appetizing sounding thing ever. Tuscan goo. It's blue apparently.
Apparently, yeah, it doesn't look good, but it is alcoholic. So.
And if you don't mix it with water, it literally kills you.
Yes, that's what they say.
You have to mix it up before you can drink it.
And they're on their way, booze in hand, drinking and talking about things Corellians talked about, as the ship, as the fanfic says.
Right.
As the fanship says.
So they're good friends. They have lots to chat about. They travel for days. Most of the fanfic is them going and picking up the Rancor and getting it back. Now, that's the body of the fanfic. I don't really want to go blow by blow in the middle there because for until the last third of the story or so, I was kind of waiting for any plot to happen. Things are mildly inconvenient for them a lot.
You can kind of sum it up just as they have problems bringing back the Rancor.
Right, but it's not even dramatically snowballing problems or problems that it's annoyances bringing back the Rancor for the first part of the story.
They're losing parts of the ship to where it may no longer be operable at some point.
Well, later on in the story they are. Once
Yeah.
the Rancor is kind of dealing damage inside the ship.
Right.
But I mean they pick it up. It's oh, well, we're not going to load it on. That's annoying. They have to pay to have it loaded on. Or it's oh, it needs to eat these animals, which are really annoying to feed it. That's annoying. And a whole lot of time is spent on that. And these two are constantly talking. They will not stop talking, Han and Saul. And so anything that happens is narrated by dialogue, not narrated, soundtracked by dialogue, to the point where I was skimming the dialogue quite a bit. I don't know about you two.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like once the Rancor gets on board, it felt like the plot kind of picked up a little bit. There are a lot of things going on between I felt like it was a very character-driven story. The Rancor poses this interesting sort of threat, where like sometimes like Han's very afraid of it, and then Casal kind of bonds with it, right? And so
Later on, yeah.
Yeah.
No, at the end, yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, like around halfway through or before that.
Oh, I thought that was kind of like a...
It's somewhere in there. There's a lot of...
It's around halfway through.
There's a lot
anyway.
of little problems they deal with and fix along the way. That's kind of hard to place things.
Okay, yeah. It's hard for me to keep the timeline in my head.
Anyway, my main point is that it kind of feels like it's about their interactions. Like, I don't see, like, a lot of character change in either of them. There is some in Han, I believe. But I see their interactions as being a big source of interest for the story. Like, the Rancor being this thing that Han hates and this thing that Casal kind of like has a different attitude towards. As you see Casal's attitude towards the Rancor develop, you also see Han's attitude towards Casal develop. So I think it's very subtle in a lot of ways.
It was kind of nice, although Han and Casal were at each other's, not each other's throats, but like annoyed each other sometimes. They always had each other's back.
Yes.
Right the second they needed it without even talking about it. That was kind of heartwarming, I think, to see sometimes.
Yeah, that makes it kind of fun to read, I think, seeing their care for each other.
Would you classify this as a bathtub story, though, where nothing much happens?
No, I think things happen because, I mean, again, I'm a little critical of that idea, as I've spoken before, but it's not that because it's not all someone sitting and reflecting. It's an active story that's happening. Yeah. And what is happening, a lot of times, poses an immediate threat because the Rancor... At certain points, like, Han's very worried that it's gonna, like, eat Casal or eat him if he stays too close to it. So that's, like, immediate danger. Maybe not, like, super intense immediate danger, but there's concern there. Then there are times where it's destroying the ship, especially later on. Or the threat of the smell in the ship, just, like, making them miserable. Like, there are threats that are happening.
Like, I think I've read this type of short story before about, like, someone who's out in the middle of an Arctic expanse and is like slowly dying of exposure or frostbite or something, and like trying to light a fire.
Oh, you probably read "To Light a Fire."
That's probably
a good story.
That sounds it. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm reminded of like immediate thing, and they try to fix it. And there's like a little bit of reflection that's mostly talking about what's immediately happening at the moment.
Yeah, I think you hit on a good thing there.
I'm sorry,
Dom,
to build
though.
a fire.
Yes.
Thank you. I forgot it even had a name, so thanks for that.
But yeah, no, you hit on a good thing there, though, that I was, I think, trying to describe is that there is a point where you're like, are they going to live through this? Because the, like, threats to their physical existence become so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting once the Rancor is kind of dealing damage to the ship and it's sort of like they need to survive this situation and, like, keep everything intact long enough to get there. And the dialogue's not bad. Like you said, Dom, it's a good dynamic and it's a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
It's just the talking doesn't stop, and so I just got overwhelmed.
I didn't skip it because I would have skipped it if the dialogue was hard to get through, but it went down pretty smoothly, so I just kept going with it.
Let me randomly flip through this for like a just random sample of dialogue. Okay. Here we go. Sal says at the start of this little sequence, "I need a drink." So does the Rancor. Han sighed, peering down into the cargo hold. It is not happy. How many bebops do we have? Dunno, I didn't count. I thought you did. Han bit back his answer. How many bebops do you think we have for the 5 days? 10 a day? I guess. I better go get more. I'll try to reach a sprinkler, Han said. If the Rancor pulls me and tell Jabba I died a hero's death in his service, maybe he'll give me a medal posthumously. I'll pin it on your urn, Zal grinned. And just like flip to any given page and like you have dialogue like that.
Yeah.
And it's all pretty funny.
Yeah,
I think that points to like the entertainment of the story is like the whole development is like they get the Rancor and they're like, oh man, this thing is huge and like it's dangerous and scary. And then the person comes out and they're like, okay, you gotta feed it. And they bring out all this compressed vegetable matter. And they're like, I thought they were carnivores. And like, oh yeah, that's for the bebop seed. And you have no idea what a bebop is, right? And then they're like, look at these little animals. And they try all these little animals out. So like slowly but surely the job gets more and more intense. And then as they have to feed the Rancor, they have to get the bebops, which are like animals that they can't even tell which the head or the butt is on.
They could tell after it bites them.
After it bites them, because as they try to herd these things into the pen, they get really aggressive. They all get bitten a bunch of times. And it's just kind of the hilarity of like no instruction is given for this, and they're all just surprised by like everything that continues to happen.
It's also a little bit to give a mouse a cookie.
Yes, except it ends up with giving a Rancor heavy alcohol.
Right.
That it does, because Casal, the saint, bonds with the Rancor, and he loves it, and he sings to it.
And he gets it drunk
and
on
he
Tuscan
gets it
Goo.
drunk on Tuscan Goo. Which, did we explain what Tuscan Goo is?
Yeah, I mentioned it.
Yeah, so they kind of, the Rancor eats some of their brandy, and they drink the rest of their brandy, and now all they have is Tuscan Goo, right? So they're giving it to the Rancor. They're giving it to themselves. And
They
there's
also-
a point where, do you want to...
Well, they have problems maintaining the ship's systems, and so like they have problems filtering the water,
Because the Rancor is so stinky.
and so they try to use the replicator, not the replicator, that's Star Trek, but they get the synthesizer to make food, but doesn't have enough moisture. So
Because they used it
Casal,
all to like wash the Rancor, and
Yeah.
then their water became contaminated with
Too
its
contaminated-
awful smell.
too contaminated to be food safe.
Yeah.
So, lacking moisture, Casal hooks up the Tuscan Goo to the synthesizer, so now everything they make
Tastes like Tuscan Goo.
is a little bit alcoholic.
So they're just getting more and more drunk. And that was actually Casal's like initial problem solution, because for a while there's a smell in the ship they just can't stand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Rancor. And they try to wash it, and it just kind of makes it worse. So they're like, okay, let's just like spray the sprinklers on it until the smell's gone. And they know that's going to contaminate the water supply completely. Because Saul's like, well, we got enough alcohol. We'll just drink strictly alcohol. And it strikes me the most that it's the Tuscan Goo, because isn't this thing they said that if they didn't dilute it, it would kill them?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how is that viable drinking material? Like, that's like, we don't have any water. Let's drink Everclear.
And it's pretty much it. Like sailors, they ran out of water, so they drink like port or some sort of fortified liquor.
Sure, but not something that was like,
That intense. Aquavit or something. Yeah.
yeah, something that's like, 12% alcohol at the most.
Yeah.
Not something that's like a 90% alcohol.
105%.
Oh my God.
So,
That's not actually possible, but all right.
In space it is.
in the end, they get the Rancor to Tatooine. And, like, the man who's there to pick it up is like, shame on you, the poor creature is filthy. I wonder what kind of care he was getting from the two of you. Probably not much. Your whole ship stinks, and
Is
both
that-
of you look drunk.
And this is after like barely being able to land by like manually holding two wires together and somebody else piloting.
Yeah, because what happened was the bebubs, the food, because Chewie used vegetable oil to like oil some of the wires, got in and chewed away some of the wires. Then the Rancor,
Not
after not
out.
being sung to enough by Casal, kind of like burst through some of the panels and got stuck. And they were trying to get it unstuck without dying. They both thought they were going to die.
Yeah, they both thought this was just it. We're gonna die. We're gonna drink
Yeah.
ourselves, and then we're gonna be dead.
So they drank everything they could possibly drink, and they passed out, and they wake up, and they're basically about to land. They thought they were going to be dead.
It's that kind of story where,
Yeah.
like, it's one thing after another. And it is pretty entertaining in that sort of, like,
It is.
zany, drunken
and it
chaos
speeds
way.
up. It speeds up a
It does.
lot.
And like
Speed up.
they both thought they were going to die, and they woke up and they were cheerful and chipper and jokeful about it. It's like I don't have any more liquor to get us dead again, so let's make this work, okay, buddy?
But
Yeah,
that's
and
so,
so-
Han Solo, though.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it's so Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's also very fun with the ending that, like, they deliver the Rancor. The inside of the ship is wrecked and smells like Rancor.
Yeah.
And, like, Chewie takes a sniff and glance in. He's horrified. He's like, I'm not stepping in until you clean it. But,
Right.
but Han
and they're
Saul,
covered in bruises and bite marks.
But Han and Saul are, like, swaggering. They're, like, so proud of themselves for doing this unpaid job that they're, like, way in the hole about. Just
Even
because
though,
they,
yeah.
like, came out the other side.
Han's ship is destroyed. Like, he's got to pay, what did they say, like a millions of credits?
10,000,
10,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I guess.
Well, it seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, the very end of the fanfic is the people who, were in the canteen, like, that Han was probably drinking with and saying, like, it'll be a piece of cake, no problem, are, like, laughing at them and saying, hey, Han, don't tell me it was hard. Nah, Han smiled endearingly. That Rancor's really a fine, gentle creature. You gotta know how to handle it. Then why do you two look like something the Goledge dragged in? Oh, that. Saul looked embarrassed. Han and I got drunk and had a fight. Yeah, Han nodded. Happens between friends. When a few doubting souls made disbelieving noises, it was Chewie himself who glared at them, asking whether anyone wanted to call his Corellians liars. I like his Corellians.
I know, I love that part.
Nobody did. And so they walked on with the confident stride of those who routinely survive the impossible. End.
So this was just like scoundrel swagger, the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's fun.
cute. It's
Yeah.
so cute because they go through this together, and there are times that Han is. We don't really get this from Saul's perspective. We get it from Han's.
Yeah.
And there are times where Han is really angry at him. Like there's a time where he's just like inhaling spice and just like drifting off to another world, and Han's like, "All right, so you just left me to fucking deal with this." Because Saul was also the one who calmed the Rancor, who had kind of formed a bond with it. He's kind of easygoing. I can see how it'd be really irritated with someone who's really high strung like Han. But then when he just like dips into Spice Land, he's like, "What the fuck?"
Well, it's unfair for Han to be angry about that because you need someone to inhale spice to navigate the ship.
But the funny
Travel
part
through
is that
space.
Han feels like he's gonna. There's a part where Han thinks he's totally gonna die. He's gonna fall into the Rancor's pit trying to feed it, etc. I don't remember specifically. But then apparently his friend isn't as doped out on spice as he thought and gets him back up and it saves his life.
Not quite that drugged out, no.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. And it's actually a nice point because he's like, his friend Saul is like, "You were calling for help. I heard you. That's how I know you were in danger." And Han's like, "No, I was too out of breath to even like call because it smells so much in here." And he's like, "Maybe I'm secretly psychic." And that's the end of that plot point.
I gotta get my hands on some of that spice.
Right?
So we went through the story. It's fairly short. It won for medium story, so I assume like short story in this context would have been like real short.
Right.
And we've kind of talked about what we didn't like and liked from it. Let me ask: would you read more stories with this character?
I'm not sure, because a lot of what I liked about this story was this character in this circumstance.
I know what you mean. It
Yeah.
feels like this is the circumstance for your wacky drunken friend.
I'd have to be shown a better proof of concept, I think.
How about that shirtless picture? Is that a good proof of concept? Of him
intrigued,
splayed out on the bed.
I do have to say I'm very curious about the slash fic this involves. The relationship between them really intrigued me.
What it sounded like, this seemed like this is one of the few non-slash fic of those two.
It's funny because like I just didn't like really expect a slash fic coming from this. I was like, oh, the author thinks they're good friends, whatevs. But I actually, that makes me so intrigued to read the slash fic because, you know,
One of
obviously,
the many slash fics, yes.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, one of the many, of course. But like the fact that they can conceive these characters like really good friends first makes me like, oh, well, that would be interesting, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure where this takes place in that timeline. Like, are they slashing together before this, after this, during this? Is it just like a thing that's happening on the side along with all this?
Well, Han doesn't seem to think of him very romantically, but it's hard to tell. You're right.
I think in that situation, you wouldn't think about anything romantic. You just think about not being eaten by a Rancor.
Okay, but when he first hires him, he's like, oh, this dude I really like, rather than being like, hey, what's up, sexy? You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Like, I mean, that's chill. I love that they are friends through this and that the author still has, like, relationships where they're sexual. Like, I love that they cannot make everything
It's-
always a sexual relationship.
It's
you know?
range for a relationship, which is nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which there should be.
Yes, because all human relationships have some sort of range.
Right. But it's too often that we see in stories either you're dating or you're not, you're sexual or you're not kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, glancing at the ZP Florian Star Wars fanfic archive, Dom, with that picture that you pointed us to, we should probably provide a link there so people can see the picture because it's worth seeing. Let's make it bit.ly/RFR Florian. That's FLORIAN. I'll set up the bit.ly.
Great.
Anyway, I do see, I was just glancing through, Flyboys, the author says, the longest and best Han/Saul story.
Oh.
And I mean, if the author says it's the best, also it was edited. Unlike most online fanfics, I guess it was also published in a zine originally.
Right.
This story has been edited by the author and contains new material,
Fancy.
So-
And it gives you links to both the original and the edited
Yep.
version.
which is very nice.
Yeah.
So If you were interested, we could just like actually read, you know, some Han Sol / recommended by the author.
I mean, maybe
I
put it
am
on,
now.
maybe put it on the back burner. Like when we get back to Star Wars Land, we can look at it again.
Yeah.
Star Wars Land.
Which is in Disneyland, I think now. You can
Oh,
go
yeah.
visit.
Star
Just-
Wars Land.
That just doesn't fit with the rest of the Disney kind of. I don't know.
Wait, what?
Neither did Pixar, but they bought them out also.
I
so.
went on the Star Wars ride the first time I went to Disneyland when I was 6 years old. So
Yeah, okay, that's true.
just
Star,
saying.
Star Tours. Star Trip? Star,
Yeah, no, it was tours.
Star Tours.
Yeah.
I saw someone with a Star Tours t-shirt the other day, I think.
Wow. Yeah. No, I must have been
And it was on
maybe 8. Maybe.
Terrace
I don't know.
House. That's where I saw someone with a Star Tours t-shirt.
Man, I gotta watch the rest of
I
Terrace
love
House.
that we just gasped at the same time.
I just love Terrace House so much.
I just couldn't believe I remembered Star Tours. That was the most delighting experience of my life, by the way.
It's all downhill from there after you go see Star Tours. Don't do
I
it.
saw real R2D2. You don't even know.
One time I went on a Space Mountain after having like been awake for 20 hours. That was fucking trippy.
Waiting
Space Mountain
after you
was
were
a
up for
trip,
20 hours
man.
in line.
Not if you get those fast passes, though. When I lived in...
Don't look at me when you do that, Amada.
Yeah, when I lived in Mission Viejo, my best friend's uncle had worked at Disneyland and had fast passes, so we just went there all the time.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, we went to Disneyland like every month. It was nuts.
That's
It was
great.
like free and we had fast passes. I don't even know. My childhood was nuts.
I always forget most of you grew up in California.
Yep.
That's okay.
I was only there for 3 years.
That's
3
okay.
years.
I still like you guys anyway, so don't worry about it.
It was only 3 years, Tom.
Well, right. In practice, we're not likely to get back to ZP Florian too quickly because there's this. If we're doing Star Wars fanfic, I'm probably going to do a different type that also won an award of some kind.
Well, is there a Cassell fanfic that's written by Fernwithy?
That's our only standard. Was it written by Fernwithy?
Fernwithy did Harry Potter stuff, right?
Yeah, next time we do Fernwithy, which we will because we've just randomly latched onto her, then we'll
she's
do
great.
we'll do some Harry Potter. Well, yeah, I'm not saying she's not a good author. I just mean
And you
there's
just
a lot
said
of good.
randomly. Like,
I
come
mean,
on.
there's a lot of good authors.
Yeah.
and like
Whatever, I'm
one
on
that
it.
we've just randomly decided to keep returning to is Fernwithy.
I'll say just every time we do a Star Wars fanfic, I just think wistfully of Fernwithy.
Yeah, because that fanfic was so good.
It's so good we had to record that episode 3-4 different times.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah, it
Still,
feels,
it's not random. It's fate.
feels like we've done a lot more Fernwithy than we have. Yes. So closing up, anything that we want to complain about? I'm just jumping right in. That was a rhetorical question. I want to talk about it. I was just opening the segment. I feel like I liked the fanfic the least, and my main problem was the pacing, but not for the usual reasons. Not because it was that bad, just because I found it monotonous to read. Like, I found it kind of, like, the tone didn't vary enough in terms of what was happening or how the writing was. And it was just a writing issue for me, such that, like, even when I recognized that the things that were happening were fun, I couldn't fully get into it.
I kind of didn't mind that sort of stuff. I like sort of things that are just only character moments, and this is mostly that. What I didn't like was the kind of stress these survival stories cause. Like, I'm a bit of an anxious person in general, so being in a suspended state of a couple hours of thinking about, oh my god, we're going to die soon, isn't as much fun for me. But I was still able to enjoy it nonetheless, I think. But that is my major complaint.
Yeah, does it help to know that obviously everyone's going to be fine?
Apparently it did it.
I guess not, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess Saul could have died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with both of those points, and like, it's an interesting. What I've been thinking about is the structure, and I think, the thing I didn't like the most was kind of the repetition Learning that Han and Casal go on to like have romantic fanfics in this was kind of surprising because there's so often that Han is very negative about his friend's behavior.
Yeah, it kind of saw Casal as like a slacker friend.
Right, but then Casal does come through. It's just that Han consistently is like, wow, you failed me. But then he still comes through. So seeing that happen over and over again kind of makes you like not like Han's perspective on him maybe, or almost like want to doubt the character the same way Han does, but then the character comes through. But the reasons the character comes through are never clear. Like, such as the instance where he's, like, totally drunk or totally, like, out of it on spice. And his only explanation for why he's able to save Han is, like, maybe I'm somehow psychic and had a premonition. It's like...
Well, it is Star Wars. That's not out of the question.
No, it's not. But it's not fully explained. So, like, I feel like there's the dislike. There is, like... You keep seeing the character through Han's eyes as, like, slacking off, but Han still likes him, so there's a disconnect.
Like, maybe it's explained later that Casal's, like, Force-sensitive or something.
Yeah, but, like, there's no explanation in this story, so I'd say that's a dislike.
All right, but is there anything that we want to praise that we didn't get to? Because we stepped through the plot pretty quickly.
Something I liked was the sort of incidental world building of the Bellions. I'm not sure they're mentioned in other Star Wars lore, but they kind of they're the race that has the Rancor initially and sort of squeezes Han for more credits in order to like accommodate and like move the Rancor, and just little offhand comments about like the traitor stood behind them waving his tentacles.
Yeah,
and like they say, I need to get home. I need to incubate my eggs. The heat lamp just won't do right. Just little things like that, and also how the Bellion addressed Han and Casal as gentle beings, which I think I might appropriate.
Yeah.
It's nice when you get away from the human-centricness of Star Wars, as movies.
Yeah. I think I might just use gentle beings as a polite, non-gendered word. It's hard to find polite words.
I know,
like
it's
that.
nice, huh?
Yeah.
Gentle folk? I like folk.
Folk still seems kind of masculine to me. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Really?
Vaguely.
I mean, I grew up kind of with my folks, my parents.
Yeah.
My folks. Being from the Midwest, you kind of just say folks and you mean people. So
I do, but like I do imagine folks as a mix of men and women, and I could see a group of men being a folks. So I'm not sure I'd see a group of women and say folks.
I couldn't see that. I'm not sure if I feel the same way, but I understand that.
I definitely support that usage, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it though. Because we do live kind of in that culture where everything is male-centered, so...
Also, I'm learning Spanish at the moment, and the whole nosotros thing, where there's one guy that's nosotros.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you know that, just a side note, in Spanish you can always use the X to replace the A or the O.
Yeah.
It's hard to speak it, though. Anyway, like, something I really liked about this fan fiction was, like, some of the pacing. Like, I was trying to define it in my head. I feel like it's kind of like a series of ensuing disasters, which feels kind of Star Wars to me, especially if you're talking about, like, Han flying the Falcon. It's always, like, a series of ensuing disasters. But within it is the threat of this relationship. And well, I have my criticisms because I'm like, how can they love each other when Han's being so negative about his friend and, like... the ways his friend pulls through aren't fully acknowledged all the time. I still see that as being like kind of this positive relationship thread where it's like every time they're going to die, something about their relationship saves them. And I think that's really sweet. And especially Casal being so loving to the Rancor when Han is typically Han and is like, I hate this ugly foul beast. Casal's love for the Rancor kind of like pulls through and helps, even if Han doesn't fully acknowledge it. I feel like that's a really positive thread through a series of disasters that could feel very anxious, as you mentioned, Dom. It's like Casal's attitude that uplifted me through all of this. Even though you don't see inside his head a lot, his actions are so positive.
I think that's our best Harrison Ford impression of the night.
I hadn't thought about it in that way thematically, Tori, but that does make me appreciate the kind of pattern more. But you're right. It is very consistent that, like, you go in expecting Saul to be, like, part of the problem, and he's not really.
No, he's more the solution.
He's part of the solution. Like, he's a good guy, like, actively helpful and, like, actively trying and,
Just as helpful as Han is.
yeah. And I mean,
More.
he signed on. He didn't even make a drunken promise, right?
No, he's
just being
very
there for his
helpful.
friend.
He's
Yeah.
very sweet. And it's kind of sad that Han doesn't seem to see that all the time. But I think there's this it kind of implication that he acknowledges it internally because he still loves his friend. And I think that's very sweet.
Then I think we're going to close it out. We've had a couple of short episodes and short fanfics, and that's fine. Next time, things get longer. And probably angstier if I understand this fanfic directly. If I understand this fanfic correctly. The fanfic is going to be synonymy. I think that's how you say it. It's SYNONYMY. And it's a Kingdom Hearts fanfic.
Oh, so that's why you couldn't understand it or not.
I don't understand anything about Kingdom Hearts. I understand that Goofy hits things with a shield, and Donald uses magic.
Wait, is Goofy Shield Dog from Pokemon Shield?
It all ties together. No, it doesn't. But that would be pretty great if the other box legendary was a wand duck.
Wanda Duck.
Yeah.
I don't like that phrase. It strikes me wrong.
It's far-fetched.
Boo.
No, Tori's just completely correct.
Boo.
Don't boo me. I know what I'm talking about.
No, I wasn't. I was calling for Lou.
My favorite thing was people joking when the names for Sword and Shield were announced. Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't wait for the fights about which box legendary is better, Aegis Slash or Aegis Slash.
Yeah.
Dear God.
Anyway, Kingdom Hearts. And when I say Kingdom Hearts, I think I mean Kingdom Hearts, not even Kingdom Hearts 2. Because this fanfic is from 2002 by someone named Ruaki, Ruaki.
Does it take into account Death by Sleep? And 380 something over something else?
It might have Chain of Memories. And
How much time travel is in this?
I don't really want to think about the Kingdom Hearts plot, which is good because I think this fanfic is just Sora Riku Kairi angst.
Oh, is that good?
No, but it's a different kind of bad. We are going to be hopefully having a guest on, if everything works out, who actually knows their Kingdom Hearts, which is, takes at least an undergraduate 4-year degree.
So I've heard, yeah.
Some amount of master's credits, ideally. And I think, Tor, you're going to be joining us for that, and Dom,
I'll be saying snide things from the sidelines.
something like that.
I'll be shouting on my computer.
Okay.
You can find a link to the fanfic at bit.ly/RFR. I'm not going to do the actual title of the fanfic. Let's do bit.ly/RFR hearts. If I need to, we'll work
It's
it
okay.
out later. We'll work it out later if we do other Kingdom Hearts, okay?
Yes.
It's just
Or
hearts.
anything involving hearts.
Or anything, like a fanfic based on the second Sailor Moon movie.
Hearts and Ice.
Hearts in Ice. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
That was my favorite movie.
Such a nerd. The R movie's better, Tori.
No, but
I'm
Luna...
gonna fight you.
No, I'm not saying it's worse or better. It's
Oh,
just,
this was your
It's my
favorite.
favorite.
Which
I
one-
guess you can have
okay.
opinions.
Luna going in love and turning into a human.
Oh,
It's so sweet.
Which one is the one where Tuxedo Max gets killed by Bon Bon Baby?
Oh, that's the third movie.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
Yeah. That's not the best one.
He doesn't
but alright.
get killed. He's just hospitalized.
For some
By Bon Bon
reason.
babies.
Which is also a theme because he's hospitalized in the R movie too. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah,
he's
you know what I
incapacitated in
mean.
various ways quite a bit.
Yeah.
So why aren't we talking about that next week?
Because we're talking about Kingdom Hearts.
Because I'm actively trying not to flood us with Sailor Moon content, Dom.
we all
Why-
appreciate your restraint.
I don't.
But it's been a while. We should probably do some Sailor Moon again.
Yeah, make
Thanks
it
for
back in.
reminding me.
Yeah.
This fanfic, we'll talk about it next time. As for this was episode 43 of Retro Fanfic Retrospective Rancor Delivery by ZP Florian. You can find a link there at bit.ly/RFR Rancor. The intro song is the weekly fare off of the album Poppy's Incredible Adventure by Komiku. The outro song is Run Against the Universe from the same album. You can find this album and other works by Komiku at loyaltyfreakmusic.com. You can find our website at retrofanficretrospective at not at podbean.com, because it's a website. retrofanficretrospective.podbean.com or bit.ly/retrofanfic or Twitter at retrofanfic or Facebook at retrofanfic or email at retrofanficretrospective@gmail.com. And really, the internet cannot all be absorbed into Google fast enough for my liking.
Right.
So we just have one contact.
Well, also, all these links will be in the description.
Yes, that also. So I don't even need to say them. I can just say, read the description for links to contact us.
You could, yeah.
That might be easier now that there's so many internet things.
So many internets.
Thingamabobs. Widgets? Do you call them that?
The proper plural is internets. Yeah.
Yes, so many
Back when we
internets.
started this project last year, there were just so few internet things, and now there's so many.
Well, as far as I knew at the time.
Is Vine still a thing? Can we be on Vine?
We can be on Vine for like 4 seconds.
Can we be... no, it's 10 seconds.
Is that right?
It was.
It's pretty long.
Wait, it was? Oh my god, everything's changing so fast.
Okay. Please contact us at a place.
At a time.
At a time.
We'll try to be nice, we promise.
Yeah, we're usually nice.
Yeah.
We're usually trying to be nice to each other. You,
Right.
on the other hand.
And speaking of which, I'm Amato.
I'm Tori.
I'm Dom.
We're just 3 gentle beings trying to be nice to each other. Until next time, take care.
All right, who's ready for some Kessel brandy? Let's pour us a glass.
That gives me the Kessel runs.
A snicker. My god. How long have you been holding on to that joke?
It just came to me 3 seconds ago.
No.
There's our Vine.
I'm destroyed. I can't even believe it. I thought I was the funniest one, but it's all over now.
The poop joke, Amato, from downtown.
Still, just dang.
I'm still reeling, man.
I know.
Man. The world will never be the same.
Having kids gives you elite access to potty humor,
Right.
in my opinion.